Welcome, YouTubers and podcast listeners. My name is Ellen Stewart, and I am the Pushy Broad from the Bronx.
She's the pushy broad from the Bronx, New York.
Hello and welcome, podcast listeners. My name is Ellen Stewart, and I am the Pushy Broad from the Bronx. I am delighted to be with you today on my show, Everybody Needs a Little Push. I'd like to tell you about this special guest from a very personal point of view. There are some times that you read books that make impressions on you, and then there are some times that you read books that completely blow you away. And I am lucky enough to have with us today the author of a book that has literally quite changed my life. The name of the book is The Last Law of Attraction Book You'll Ever Need to Read, which is a mouthful in itself, but it is the truth. And then it has a subtitle, which is even more of a mouthful, which says, The Missing Key to Finally Tapping into the Universe and Manifesting Your Desires. And let me tell you that this book was first recommended to me by a client of mine. I began reading it, and it completely changed not only my life, but in the way I deal with my clients. So I reached out to the author to ask him a question, and he was kind enough to write me back and take my invitation to appear on my podcast. So, listeners, I'd like to introduce to you the author of The Last Law of Attraction Book You'll Ever Need to Read, Andrew Kap. Andrew, thanks so much for being with me today.
Ellen, thank you so much for having me. I didn't grow up in the Bronx, but I didn't grow up too far from it. So we'll see if there's any kind of Bronx flavor in my accent. But I definitely resonate with your vibe and your energy. And I'm really excited to be here. I really appreciate this. And I'm excited for where we might take this conversation. So thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. I started the book not too long after it was published, right? It was published, November of 2019? Is that correct?
Yes, November 24th, 2019.
And I started it a couple of months ago, especially during the pandemic, because every single one of us during this pandemic was really worrying about themselves and learning how to become better people and take courses in self-development. So quite honestly, this book came out at a perfect time. Do you think people were using it for that reason?
I think it became something where people were using it in the moment. It was funny because when I wrote the book summer of 2019, before we ever thought the world was going to be the way it was going to be, and the intent was that every person in any kind of situation would be able to translate it into whatever their specific needs were. So, I mean, anytime certain people write to me about how it helped them address these kinds of challenges, I'm very grateful for. In the end, it's any way, shape, or form that this is serving people. It's a very fulfilling and very gratifying thing to know that it's done that for them.
It was also something for me to hear that the book came on the heels of personal pain for you. Such an uplifting book came out of personal pain and personal trauma, if you will. Can you explain that a little bit to us?
Yeah, the really strange thing is people even hear you lead into that and they're like, oh, what happened to Andrew in 2017 or 2018? And it's like, well, no, this is actually based on something that happened in 2008. And actually, just to get a little before that, I learned about the law of attraction in probably 2004. And it was one of those things where, I was an entrepreneur at the time. And I think, business owners, entrepreneurs, even salespeople, they can really resonate with that idea of having to kill your own dinner, so to speak. If you have a bad day, money's not coming in. And I think a lot of people gravitate towards positive mindset or a positive modality or something of that nature. Law of attraction was one of many. And while I resonated it, while I understood that, hey, this seems to work, and I had my successes and failures, I never thought that the law of attraction was consistent. And I'd later find out that it was actually me who was being inconsistent, but that's a whole another story that we can definitely dive into. But to answer your question better, cut to 4 years later, it's 2008. I'm aware of this thing and it kind of works, kind of doesn't work, but I had a really bad week where I basically lost that business and my girlfriend of 3 years, like within a couple of days of one another. And, The funny thing was, it wasn't so funny for me. She didn't break up in person. She didn't even break up over phone. She broke up like over text. In
Oh,
other
I
words,
hate
it
that.
was it was a rough go of things. And when you lose what to me felt like 90% of your life, I was basically at this point where like, listen, what am I doing? Something's got to change. Something's got to be done. And I almost had this epiphany, for lack of a better word, where like, well, this law of attraction thing kind of worked whenever I actually did it. What if I went all in? And because I was honestly so depressed and so frustrated, I was basically so stubborn and indignant where I told myself, like, listen, I don't care what happens, when it happens, why it happens, how it happens. I don't care about any of that. I'm going to go all in. And when I say all in with this, I don't mean all day, every day, because I understood the human condition enough to know that I was going to burn out in that way. And it doesn't matter how much I want something, it wasn't sustainable. But I was upset enough and stubborn and indignant enough that I can do 5 or 10 minutes a day of simple gratitude or visualization processes that, I learned from so many books and so many videos, and I can do that. And the results, to make this probably the most long-winded answer in the history of your show so far, the results were miraculous. Like within 2 weeks, I felt better, which is saying a lot with a broken heart. And within 3 months, I'm in a brand new relationship. I'm over my ex. This is a new, healthier one, by the way. Within 4 months, I'm making more money than at any point in my life before then. And within 6 months, like everything changed. I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm waking up happy, fulfilled, grateful, excited, enthusiastic, like everything's good. And I basically had this realization that this works if you work it. And it was only years later when I wanted to decide to do something new in a business. I said, okay, what can I do where I'm going to be happy and engaged and excited about, interacting with my customers, where, to be quite candid, I'm not going to get bored, where if someone writes me with a question, I'm going to enthusiastically like write back and engage in the process. And it's like, okay, here's this thing in my life that's been a huge contributing factor, that's made a huge impact that people don't even know that I've had this experience with. What if I can finally give myself permission to articulate this in the way that would hopefully have been the book that I would have wanted back in 2004, so that I didn't have to go through so many trials and tribulations and could have implemented this kind of thing right away.
Wow, you're right. That was certainly a mouthful. And I understand exactly where you're coming from because I spent the last 16 years in behavioral health. And I also have 35 years in recovery, which all the way through shows me, just like you, that there is something to the art of positive thinking. Okay. And the law of attraction, meaning positive energy attracts positive energy. Right?
Yes.
Positive thoughts attract positive thoughts just as easily as negative energy or negative thoughts attract negative thoughts and negative energy. And you are right. The power of positive thinking. There are so many other books out there that talk about positive energy surrounding you in order to create or manifest good things for yourself. So,
Indeed.
you also had some things that went on in your life that were, like you said, complete devastations. And we measure that only personally, only subjectively. It's not a question of how I would handle it. It's a question of how devastating it was for you. And I cannot stand anybody that doesn't have the courage to break up with somebody face to face or even a phone call. And I've talked so much about that on my podcast. So I completely empathize with that already. And I am sure your ex-girlfriend is kicking herself now because of all of this. I'm convinced.
Yeah, perhaps.
But, but nevertheless, here you are quite some time ago, not feeling so good about anything. And then what did you do? Did you have a particular mentor that you latched onto? Did you actually pick yourself up and say, okay, every single day I'm going to do this mantra? How did it work for you?
Right. Well, real quick, just one thing to speak to the girlfriend. Like in her defense, but this is important because I was not giving enough energy to the relationship. I mean, it would have warranted an in-person breakup, but I definitely wasn't. But part of that was because I was so desperately trying to hold on to my business. Meaning, negative and lack, they bleed out and they spread out and they cascade out in so many different ways where these things come back. To answer your question, like regarding mentors, I mean, I had done so much learning and reading, and I was always so interested in just like the human condition and human psychology. And I'd always just, for some reason, looked very closely at myself when I succeeded and when I failed, and what was the psychological process that I was putting myself through in order to do that. So I didn't have mentors in that moment when I was doing it, although I certainly had people that I had followed or studied before that that gave me insight into my mind so that I had some kind of feedback loop or feedback system when I was engaging in that process. One person off the top of my head, his name is Shad Helmstetter, which I've never met him, but he wrote a book called he wrote a number of books, but he wrote a book called What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. And I read that back, I think in 2003, even before I knew about the law of attraction. And it just explained about like the human mind and how it's almost like a supercomputer. And when you program it with things, things are going to happen. I think that's an important thing. Again, trying to my best. I'll make every single answer nice and long-winded here, but it doesn't even have to be about law of attraction because like, what if the law of it? I mean, I believe in it, obviously. I believe in the universe. I believe in energy. I believe we're vibrational. But what if I'm wrong? Or what if I'm deluded? Or what if I'm even lying? Although I'm not, right? It doesn't change the fact that this works in some way, shape, or form. And it could be a result of your subconscious mind doing the heavy lifting. It could be any number of things. I think the beauty of this is that we don't necessarily need to know the reason, so long as a process that we put in place will lead to a result that is satisfactory for us and healthy in our lives.
You're absolutely correct. And when I approach my clients in coaching, I make sure that they do positive affirmation work, that I teach them techniques known as reframing, which is to look at things from a different point of view. Because obviously, the old adage, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect different results, people think it's their definition of insanity. So we're able to look at things from a different point of view, put a positive energy and a positive spin on it. And as a result, we feel happier. Mm-hmm. And because we can radiate a certain happiness over and over and over again, it reinforces to us that that happiness kind of radiates out, or that positive energy kind of radiates out, because we always seem to get positive energy and positive experiences in return.
Yeah. I was about to say, and it cascades again in very unpredictable ways. I mean, when somebody, like everyone that's been to a party, they notice that one person, and it's not about how they look necessarily. It's not about, even it could be about what they're wearing, but oftentimes a certain person's going to carry themselves in a certain way where they're just magnetic and radiant, and you can't even explain why you are drawn to them, but you are. And that's the person that's getting, business cards, and that's the person that's making connections, and it's helping their business or even helping their dating life or whatever it is that they're after, because they walk into a room in a way that they're not trying to suck value out of the room. They're not desperate. They're not in a lackful mindset. They're of a more abundant mindset. They're of the mindset of like, I'm happy. I love being alive. And people feel that, and they want to experience that too. And therefore they want to be around it. And that's why people say, like, what's the power of positive thinking? Well, it's a million things. One of many numerous things is that people will be drawn to you and they will want to help you because they like being around you. Because believe it or not, by being that abundant person and that positive person, you are giving them a gift. You are lifting them up. You are raising their mood and their vibe and their energy and their mindset and their outlook in a way that no one else has done that day, because everyone else has complained to them and everyone else has looked at the negative instead of the positive, and everyone else has dragged them down to a state that they don't want to be in. Whereas that radiant, abundant person is the change of pace that they've been searching for, not only all day, but probably all year.
I completely understand. And that's what happens. We become unconsciously a magnet for other people to be attracted to us. And I have seen that happen over and over again. So, Andrew, this book, the last law of attraction book you'll ever need to read, is a mighty big claim in the world of law of attraction books. So tell me what made you decide to call it this. And also, can you give us an idea for those of us who haven't read it? And mine is so dog-eared that I have, it's like my Bible. It's practically falling apart. How you have put this book together. Give us an idea of the format as well.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for the huge compliment. The long-winded title, and I'll be the first one to admit it's quite a mouthful. Anyone that sees the cover, I don't even put my name on it. I don't put the subtitle. There's no room. Like, if you want to see this on Amazon and they have like the small graphics, I fill out the whole cover. And for me, I know it's a bold promise, but it was basically my mission statement. And I came up with the title and the cover very early on in the process. And I would look at it every single day before I wrote a chapter, because I wanted to stay very intentional and very on point of, listen, there's plenty of great law of attraction books there, but what's if there's one missing piece in there, what can I do so that, notice it's not the last law of attraction book you'll ever read, it's the last one you'll ever need to read. I just wanted people to have the option where through the presentation of this content, they could implement it and then see through themselves, so that, again, it's not me that teaches them, it's not the book, it's their life experience after playing with these hopefully user-friendly techniques that I've included, that just get them that life experiential result that can never be taken away from them. And it's really weird because, like, in the one sense, you can say that it took me 16 years to write the book. In another, it took me 9.5 weeks. Like, I spent about a month just putting my random thoughts, like, what are the most important things based on my life experience and my successes and failures in the context of law of attraction. And then I had those, and then I just spent 9.5 weeks, like, massaging it and putting it into place and just trying to be very intentional about how I articulated the message. For me, it was very important to know, like, what is the reader's experience of this book from page 1 to page 208 or 210 or however much I have right now, because I'm kind of walking them on a journey. There's the foundation where I establish what law of attraction is and hopefully a new light for people that have learned about it already. And then I kind of throw in a few things, and, like, we build our way to the method so that by the time you get to the method, you don't have to wait till the end of the book to try something enthusiastically. So for me, my mindset, and I'm hoping I'm answering your question, my mindset in crafting the book was that this was going to be an experience that provides the reader with self-permission to implement it once and for all. And then once they got something out of it, once they saw a result, they were forever changed, and they would never need me or any other book or any other program or anything else ever again, other than their knowledge that this works if you work it.
Well, I started very enthusiastically, and optimistically, but with certainly a little bit of cynicism, because partially because of your title, and partially because I do have experience in manifestations and affirmations. And I think also, just like you said, when somebody doesn't sustain it and it stops working, the first thing that we do is blame the process rather than blame how we approach the process. And I understand that. And being in recovery, like I said, when we go into the rooms at the end of the meeting, the slogan is keep coming back. It works if you work it.
Yes.
And what you have here is a book that definitely works, but you have to work it. And you have made it very detailed. In fact, you have spent time on 19 different methods to manifest the kind of attraction and the kind of things that you want. And they are very succinctly divided into 3 specific categories. I want you to talk about that. The first one is gratitude. The second one is scripting. And the third is visualization. So can you talk about those categories a little bit, please?
Absolutely. And even before the categories, just for clarity, my mindset on this is it only takes one method. And the whole purpose of the variety between the 19 methods and the 3 categories, and even like the new methods I come up with and share on my YouTube channel, is because, one, people appreciate variety that helps them stay on track. And 2, people are different. So someone might be more in line with scripting versus gratitude versus visualization. But to answer your question, like the 3 types, I mean, gratitude is what it sounds like. These are methods are specifically devised just to help you experience the emotion and the feeling of gratitude, with my understanding that when you are experiencing gratitude, you are sending out that signal either to the universe if you believe in that sort of thing, or your subconscious mind if you don't, that you're happy and that you're fulfilled and that you have the things that you want, which then reinforces that and ends up bringing that back to you. Whether it's your reticulator activating system, again, if we want to talk about the mind, or it's really just a universal energy, noticing your vibe and energy and matching that up and bringing it back to you. The scripting is really for people, a lot of people, they convince themselves sometimes that they can't visualize, or they come up with another excuse for themselves as to why this works, but not for them. It can't be for them. Scripting is a different way of going through this process that most people don't look at. And it's really just documenting or journaling about your life in the present tense as if you're already living your dream life. And the really cool thing about this is if you don't like to handwrite it, you can type. And if you don't like to type, you can speak it. Like there's no limits. You can do spoken scripting also. But it's one of those things where even if you're not visualizing, I mean, the fact that you're going through those details, your brain is receiving the messages, the universe is receiving the messages. You're basically finding a backdoor hack in order to still experience these things. And visualization, it kind of can involve gratitude and things of that nature, but I give that its own category just because there's an emphasis on the visualization, because whereas there are people that don't think they could visualize, there's people that really love to dive into that part of it. And I think, what if I can offer different methods and different perspectives and different ways by which they can visualize and engage their mind in a vibrant, exciting way that'll just be something that they can look forward to. Like the bottom line for this, whether it's my book or someone else's book, my YouTube or someone else's YouTube, is I just want a process or a method or 3 or 4 or 5 that people will look forward to every single day, because you'll probably agree when they look forward to it, they're excited and they actually do it. And it's the consistency that makes the difference. Anyone can do this once or twice. But the fun part is, what if this is so enjoyable that you look forward to it every single day? And that's why you do it for 30 days and 60 days and 90 days. It doesn't become this obligation that you have to like force yourself through. It becomes a choice rather than a chore. It becomes something that you get to do rather than something that you have to do. Because what I've been telling people, like we're on the heels of the Super Bowl here. I'm not sure when we'll publish this, but you know, Super Bowl is fairly recent. I've yet to find a hardcore football fan who says, "Oh, you mean I have to go to the Super Bowl this year?" It's like, no, the person wants to go. They don't care about the air travel. They don't care about the hotel. They don't care about waiting in the stadium all day. They're so excited about that. And the whole thing is, can we find methods that are not only so exciting that you look forward to doing them, but are also short and consumable so that you don't have to spend a half hour a day. You can do 5 minutes a day and truly get value out of that and truly shift things for yourself over the long haul.
I think that whole sense of make it fun to make it sustainable is probably the most prevalent part of your book. Constantly listening to you, because this is how I did it. Okay. Somebody told me to go out and read the last law of attraction book you'll ever need to read. Okay. So I said to myself, if I have this book in front of me and I start reading this one more affirmation book, I'm going to read 3 pages and I'm going to sleep. That's who I am. Okay. And being a teacher for such a long time and a college professor, I know that in order to retain something and actually take it in and have it become a part of you, people learn 3 ways. Okay, we learn by the written word, we learn by hearing, and we learn by doing. Okay, so it is audio, visual, and kinesthetic. So I wanted to be able to take your book apart and really absorb it in the right way, because from the very, very beginning, you are emphatic in your approach. So that's what attracts readers right away from a personal point of view. This man was not kidding around. He was absolutely emphatic that if you do what's in here, your life will change. And because you had such a direct approach, I was all in from the beginning. So that's what I'm giving to my listeners today. This is a book where you will be all in because of how direct you are. So what I did was I bought it on Kindle and I also bought it on Audible so that I could hear you talking as I was watching the words on the screen. And for me, that solidified how important it was. So you were very emphatic in what you were saying and very direct and also extremely enthusiastic.
Thank you.
And constantly reinforcing to me that if at any time I found this to be work, I should stop doing it immediately.
Thank you for bringing that part up, because Ellen, you identified probably the most important thing for any law of attraction book ever, because I think a lot of people, first of all, a lot of people listening to this, they're already familiar with the law of attraction. They've already seen The Secret, which, by the way, The Secret's a very, some people, it's controversial in the sense that some people are really into it and some people don't think it's too materialistic. And I'm like, well, it depends on what you're getting out of it. To their credit of The Secret, they at least put it out there and gave you a demonstration of what this could be. But the key to all this is a lot of times people, they hear about this and they try it and it doesn't work. And they're like, this thing doesn't, like, it's not true. What's going on here? And again, I've had my own failures about this, and I've really had to look closely of what's going on. Like, what if I tell somebody, if they think about their job every single day, that job promotion that they want, and then it doesn't happen, like, what's going on here? Well, oftentimes, and I'm using job promotion as an example, but you can use the love of your life, you can use money, you can use whatever. Oftentimes people are doing a method for the sake of getting the result. And it's like, well, yeah, of course I'm supposed to do that. That's what your book says, right? But there's a very subtle little difference in there. You really want to do the method for the sake of enjoying the method, because when you're doing the method to get the result, your focus, without you realizing it, is on the lack of the result. That's why you're thinking about that job promotion every single day. You're doing so with a sense of frustration and doubt and fear and uncertainty. You're not thinking about the job, you're thinking of the lack of the job. Whereas if you're thinking and enjoying the method, and there's a sense of enthusiasm and satisfaction and anticipation and gratitude and ease, that's the job that you want. That's what you're attracting. So oftentimes when people, they don't realize that this thing is not quote unquote working, it's because they are so focused in their fixed attention and requirement that it works a certain way. They don't realize they are focusing on what they don't want. It seems like they're focusing on what they want. It's a huge fine line, which goes back to what you say. You just have to have fun. If you're not having fun, you are basically going against the grain of everything that you should be doing, which is why 30 seconds of fun is going to be way more powerful than 30 minutes of gritting your teeth.
I understand, and you're absolutely right. And I think to add to this, the message that you give the readers is that when you are manifesting something, sometimes we think we're manifesting something specific, right? Like you said, I want this job promotion. I want this job promotion. But what I think you get out of the book and what you talk about in terms of law of attraction is that you want to manifest the things that are going to be positive for you. And sometimes that's not the job promotion.
Yes. That job promotion might mean more hours, more stress on you and your family. It might mean you have to relocate when you don't want to. Like what do you really want out of job promotion? Well, you want more money, but you probably want a better sense of purpose in your work. You probably want a different perspective in how you approach your job. You want more opportunity to lean on your natural skills. Like, these are things that may or may not be accomplished through that specific promotion. But when you focus on those things rather than the promotion, you invite either that promotion to come or something even better that you can't force or can't work out in your own mind, but that the universe will find a way to provide for you. Obviously, you'll do inspired action also. You won't sit around doing nothing. But again, the action will be inspired, and you will have many opportunities and many so-called coincidences that will guide you towards what you want.
And I think that's why, for me, the gratitude methods in your manifestation approaches seem to be the most relevant for me. Because when you shift it to gratitude, I already have a sense of the glass being half full as opposed to the glass being half empty. I am already thanking the universe for the abundance that I have. And by shifting my mindset, then I am already operating from a position of positivity and a position of having more, so that anything that's added to it is basically just gravy. Don't you think?
I love that perspective. See, when I hear you say that, I get a sense of ease and relaxation and, lack of fixed attachment in your energy. And really, there's a sense of invitation in your energy. You're letting things come in such a better, more efficient way. And, you're not trying to force it. You're just saying, all right, I'm here, let's have it. And in the meantime, by the way, while I'm waiting for X, Y, or Z, I am so fulfilled and so happy what I've got in the meantime. Because the thing that you want, it might be a month away or a year away. Do you really want to not enjoy your life in the meantime? It's like, no, you want to enjoy whatever you can in any way which you can while you're on your way to that thing. Like me personally, I talk about this sometimes in interviews. I want to sell 1 million copies of my book, and I want 1 million YouTube subscribers. And It's not so I could be like, hey, look at me, how special I am. I've got 1 million readers and blah, blah, blah. No, it's just because it's a nice guiding Northern Star that helps keep me on point to keep sharing value and keep doing things. Now, with that said, if someone said, hey, Andrew, I'm going to give you 1 million YouTube subscribers right now, I'd say, whoa, give me 10,000 now. And the reason is because right now I don't have the capacity, the way my day is set up, that I can answer all the emails that are going to come in as a result of all those subscribers. I will gladly take a boost right now. I've got probably like 1,300 subscribers on my YouTube. I'll gladly take, 10,000 or 15,000 because I know that the emails that come in, I will be able to help those people and serve them. But I'm enjoying the ride. I am no rush to get to those 1 million subscribers. I know that they're on the way. But in the meantime, I am so grateful for the 1,300 plus people that enjoyed my stuff enough that they chose to click that subscribe button, that they choose to invest 5 or 10 minutes or whatever it might be in those videos that I share. Why wouldn't I be grateful for that? I mean, if I'm not grateful for that, I'm not going to get 1 million people anyway. It's just it's a mismatch of energy. I might as well enjoy the ride and be appreciative of everything I have on the way because it's a glorious journey that way. It really is.
Exactly. And like we've discussed, it makes us opened. When you're going to just one specific thing, like you said, like 1 million YouTube subscribers, or if somebody is thinking about, okay, I just want to win the sweepstakes or whatever, that everything that happens along the way, you don't see, you miss for the gratitude that it is. And it also, as far as we're concerned, closes you and it doesn't open you to the riches of the universe. It makes you in a position where you're tunnel visioned. And that certainly doesn't allow for any kind of good flow or good light to pass through it, like in some of your methods.
I could not agree more, Ellen. And I say we are so much more potent and powerful than we ever give ourselves credit for. But that's not just about in terms of being able to attract good things. It's in terms of being able to keep ourselves from looking at things that are there. It's like we have so much power that sometimes we are holding things away. Where if we're just like, you know what, I'm not going to worry too much, it'll come flying at us. It really will. And it'll be one of those things where it might cascade, or it might come slowly, or it might be a combination. The really cool thing is not even knowing how it's going to unfold, but just enjoying it as it unfolds. Because, the love of your life might be a month away because they have to finalize that divorce, or they have to move from one side of the country to the other. Like there are details that have to be put in place that you don't even know about. And it's worth waiting that month for them to get their affairs in order so that you can meet them, rather than saying, where's this person? What's going on? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with the universe? What's wrong with them? It's like, no, stop asking what's wrong. Start asking like, okay, how can I invite this in a nice, fun, easy way where I'm enjoying the process? And by the way, when that person finds me, I will be a more complete, more prepared person in order to engage in that process and that relationship with them and have it be an even more wonderful experience.
You're absolutely right. I had no idea that you would be a guest on my show. All I did was to take your course, and we're going to talk a little bit about it because I want to talk about gravity of the cosmos, certainly. But I had a question about the course, as we talked earlier, and at the bottom of one of the days, it says, if you have a question, please email me here. So I did. I asked a general question, and you got back to me right away, and I said, well, let me just give it a try. I am absolutely enthralled with the book, and it's helped really to change my life, and it has done so much for me and on so many different levels that we're going to talk about. So I just emailed you back, and you agreed to be on the show. And this week alone, in addition to you agreeing to be on the show, I got a 3-minute television experience on New Jersey TV News talking about one of my passions as a recovery coach. I also got 3 new clients, one of them overseas that has been trying to reach me for quite some time. And I also got another invitation to be on somebody else's podcast. And I, believe me when I tell you, did not consciously ask for any one of those things. It's not like I went through the manifestation and I said, please let me have this. I did what you had said, and through my gratitude every single day, find a way to say, I am grateful for my existence, for the world, world, for the abundance around me. Sometimes I say I'm grateful for my microphone. I'm grateful for the pictures behind me. I'm grateful for the universe working in the way that it's supposed to. And I'm grateful to be able to help somebody on a daily basis. And because of that, my sphere seems to open up and all of these wonderful things just keep happening. So it's certainly a testament to the things that you're teaching.
Thank you for that acknowledgement. And by the way, hearing you say that, it makes me very excited because, again, I've done this in my own life, and I've seen this with people before. When they start acknowledging and noticing it, that's when things really start to pick up. But also, just so we're clear, this is a very exciting and fun and fulfilling moment for me right now. In that, I never thought, like, I had an intention that this book would connect with really awesome people, but I didn't put out the intention of like, oh, I want to connect with really talented people on, in this kind of, publishing format that, that are amazing in what they do. I didn't think I'd have that opportunity. I didn't think I'd go in that direction. And, just to speak, I'm not sure how many people are observant of what's going on right now, but I'm hyper observant. So I can clearly notice right now the level of care and intentionality with which you run your show and ask your questions that, some people are just the benefactor of. But this kind of thing excites me because, again, I didn't imagine, even when I was writing this book, that it would lead to such talented people that are on top of their game in this kind of format. So I am right now, we are witnessing a mutual manifestation going on right now. And it's so fun and so cool. And again, I like talking about that because not only does that reinforce to me how happy I am to be here, but it also invites more talented people that are going to come into my world and hopefully ask me to talk to them also. And that, to me, what a fun way to spend your day. How fun is it to go on and talk about stuff that's really important to you, that you're hopefully connecting with people? It's like, hey, there's no complaints here. Like, what a gift. So thank you for being a positive person in this journey of mine as I'm experiencing this and as this unfolds and as this evolves for me. I'm really grateful for that.
Well, thank you very much. And I certainly am so grateful to be a part of this because, as I mentioned to you earlier, part of what I do, and not only being a podcast host and a radio show talk show host, is to work as a recovery coach. And a lot of the things that you touch on here are very important to me and my manifestations to staying clean and sober, meaning allowing the universe to work. And for many of us in recovery, we take that universe to believe spiritually that there is a higher power or a God involved in making situations happen. So whatever someone believes in terms of a power greater than ourselves can help them make the universe work is something that, for me, makes it very universal in our recovery. So the law of attraction kind of makes it a recovery for all, if you will, whether or not it's based on trying to stay clean and sober from a mood-altering substance. It's reframing our brain to invite positive energy as opposed to the negative energy of drug addiction.
I love that perspective. And, what's really cool, even hearing that, is that there's the universe or God, or however you want to phrase him or her or it, really is conspiring in all our favor in ways that we don't see. But the evidence of a higher power is so as an example, if I were to pull out a dog whistle right now and blow it as hard as I could into this mic, it would be kind of rude, but it really wouldn't bother you because you don't pick up that signal. Whereas if you had a dog right next to you, the dog would freak out. What does that tell us? That tells us it's a perfect example of a frequency that our senses are not picking up, but that are obviously real. By that same token, we're having this conversation in different locations. Now, I can have some weird rationalization in my head where the computer's plugged into the wall and there's a really long wire to you. Let's pretend, even though that's not true, and I'll unplug it. Well, how is this working? Well, we accept the fact that it works because we understand satellites and, fiber optics and all these different things, and we accept it. But the bottom line is we're having a conversation in real time and we don't know what energy is actually doing this connection. We can't really explain electricity. So if we have all these examples surrounding us, then why would we not also understand that there's a higher intelligent power that's conspiring in our favor, that wants good for us, that will work with us as we invite good things? And I always love to think about the invisible energy that I don't perceive, but there's obvious evidence of it, because it reminds me that there's so much more to it. And even people that explain, like, I'm I've discovered this and my life is so much better. That's the universe screaming at you like, look, here's a perfect example that this is for you also. Don't think that this is not for you. This is just as much for you as anyone else. You are just as worthy as anybody else, regardless of what any kind of judgment or shame you might have thrown on yourself in the past. Now is your opportunity to really step into this and accept it and enjoy it and be a living, breathing example to inspire other people to do the same thing.
You're right. And sometimes that happens just by being an author of a wonderful book or by being a coach who constantly reinforces or becomes that cheerleader for somebody on a daily basis to say, yes, you can. It's going to be positive. Keep going. But what about the person that either doesn't believe in the law of attraction or turns around and says, I see it, but it's not consistent and it's falling apart and it's not working. What do you say to those people?
Right. Well, I mean, there's so many different ways of describing it. I mean, first of all, again, if do they see it, but are they actually trying it? And if they're trying it, again, are they in that mode of lack? Because again, your feelings tell you whether you're focused on the lack of something or the actual thing. But to go deeper, I like to explain the law of attraction in three-dimensional physical reality terms. So for example, everyone can relate to the idea of lifting weights to get muscles, right? Now, I'm going to throw two possible explanations as to how this works for someone. Explanation number one is you lift weights and you go to sleep at night and the muscle fairy comes and waves the magic wand and poof, you've got muscles. Easy peasy, right?
Oh God, that would be great.
Wouldn't it? Now, another explanation is that when you were lifting weights, you're putting so much stress on your body that your muscles are actually tearing in little areas under the stress of that weight. And then what your body does is it heals itself by filling in those gaps with more muscle fiber, hence bigger muscles. Now, that's a butchered explanation, but I'm sure most people will be like, well, Andrew, that's obviously the one. And my answer is, it actually doesn't matter what the answer is. What matters is you put in X, you get Y. You lift weights, you get muscles. And by that same token, regardless of whether the law of attraction is even real or whether you believe in it or not, if you engage in these methods and actually engage in them for the sake of enjoying them, not for the sake of manipulating the universe, a result will come. And again, it's by hook or by crook. You don't even have to credit the universe. You don't have to credit me or my book or anything like that, but just try and recognize that when those results came, something made it happen. And the only thing you did different was this thing. Why not do it? And P.S., you spoke about gratitude. We can talk about how gratitude is influencing the universe and it's reaffirming this energy of getting what you want. But also to take it again to three-dimensional physical reality, there are scientific studies that show that feeling gratitude will improve your sleep. It'll increase your confidence. It'll reduce your anxiety. In other words, if I'm lying or deluded, there's nothing stopping you or hurting you if you take 5 minutes out of your day to try to experience gratitude. At the very least, you're taking a break from whatever stresses you have, worries about your job or your relationship or money or anything like that. Take those 5 minutes every single day and let the result that you experience be the proving factor. Because again, even if I'm wrong, you still got to win by engaging in this physically healthy process. And that's like the extent I'll take it to people. I don't even want them to believe in the law of attraction. All I want is them to do some way, shape, or form that they do this long enough to get a result. And then whatever they want to believe, as long as they now have that life experience and they can make their choice from there, at least I've served them to that end, and then it's on them to do more.
Let's talk about gratitude for a moment. You have this wonderful mindset for automatic success, your time lapse method, which I have used several times. So since it's one of the methods in the book, can you look at it quickly for us and just give us some idea as to how to practice that so we can get some practical tips to do it today?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. If I may, let me teach it real quick to people. And it's actually, it's in my opinion, it's really wonderful. And, I talked about, back in 2008, and I went all in. This process I personally attribute to making that real difference in the money part of things, just because I used it in that way. So I attribute it to this. So take that for what it's worth if you want to try this. But the way that the time-lapse method works is you're going to have 15 things that you're grateful for that you're going to write down. 5 of them are from your past, 5 of them are from your present, and 5 are things that you want in your future. But you're going to write them all down in the present tense. And then you're going to jumble up the list. So maybe the first thing is a present, but then there's a past, and then a future, another past. It doesn't matter. It's all jumbled up.
It's
And
like
what you're
your
going to do,
mixed. It's like your mixed playlist, is what you're saying.
it's a mixed playlist in a completely wacky order. It's not in chronological order anymore. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to read each statement one at a time and give yourself, I don't know, 20 to 60 seconds to just feel gratitude for what that thing is, you know? And the beauty of this is 2/3 of that list is real. It either has happened or is happening, meaning the gratitude that you feel has a certain confidence and enthusiasm and certainty to it that you just can't manufacture. But because we as humans psychologically can't downshift very easily, those 5 future things that you want that are intermixed will also carry that flavor, that emotional flavor, and that certainty and that confidence and that joyful feeling as you're reading those things, which again, I would argue is programming your subconscious mind and the universe to bring those things to you. But I would also argue that if you don't believe in that, it still feels really good. So why not do it? And that's like the time lapse method. Is basically a way of feeling really good about the things that you have, the things that you have had, and things that are on the way in a healthy, fun, easy, time efficient way.
I think it also does a couple of other things for us that are really much more than we ever thought. Sometimes people find it very difficult to recall how good things were for them, especially if they're in a situation of, oh my God, this sucks right now. Okay.
Yes.
We don't remember that last month, last week, last year, maybe it didn't suck. And not only that, but maybe it was a fantastic experience. So when I do some coaching, I talk about the positive references of my past. But in order to do that, we have to recall it. And when we recall it, you can do what you said by actually saying it out loud. We not only recall that experience that we have forgotten, but we begin to relive it in a way that puts it in the present, just like you said. So it brings the past, the present, and the future into the present. So it is a really good behavioral modification technique to let us realize that we have done things and we have earned things that were positive in the past, which is only an indication that we are open to receive positive things in the future.
Thank you so much for that extra perspective and extra insight on that. I really love that. And what I got in addition to hearing you say that is there's also something where it might not come to mind instantly, but when you just try to think about it for a few minutes, you know, the hamster starts to run on the wheel and those old familiar neural pathways, they start to get accessed and light up. So the ideas and the memories of things that you might not have considered before will come to you and you're like, oh my, wow, college was a lot of fun. Or, you know what, I didn't like my boss in the last job, but oh my God, my colleagues were so great to be around. And I'm remembering that time that one bought me lunch and that one treated me to that concert. And I'm remembering the company retreat that we like, wow, that was awesome. And it's just a wonderful thing.
Yes, and not only that, but it works in other ways too, because sometimes we're in anticipation of things that we want to happen, but maybe we have to go through. And thinking about things that we have overcome in a good way allows us to go through hurdles that will be difficult in the future with more ease and a greater sense of purpose, understanding that we know because we already have the tools, because we have gone through things in the past. So that kind of time lapse and that kind of recall really provides an inner strength for us to have the fortitude to go further.
Thank you also for bringing that up, because I don't remember articulating it into the book, but one thing that I kind of try to sneak into some of these methods is the installment and nurturing of emotional resilience, because that the whole part, like everything feeds everything. Fun feeds the consistency, feeds the resilience, feeds the consistency, feeds the fun. It all intermingles. So thank you for bringing that up and reminding me that that was part of the motivation when I was laying these methods out and trying to structure them in a user-friendly, efficient way.
That's fantastic. I also want to touch on something else that you have. You have a great big drawing about a tiny little fish and then a bigger fish and then kind of a shark fish. And you put the tiny little fish, which is the conscious mind, which you call your willpower and intention. And then the next fish is your ego. And boy, does that ego really play havoc with our minds and our brains and our consistency of thought. And then, of course, the big shark, or you claim as the person who's, or the being being that is really in charge is your subconscious mind, which is the boss. So could you talk to us a little bit about this and how it intertwines with the law of attraction?
Yeah, I'll tell you this. I don't even want to overhype it, but this to me is one of the most important concepts in the book. And this was part of the contributing factor as to why I called it the last law of attraction book you'll ever need to read, because it's this element that I'm about to explain that when we understand, we then understand why we don't work out every day, or why we don't do these methods every day, or why we aren't consistent in things that we know are good for us every day. So the way I see it, and I realize that I'm not a clinical psychologist, and I also realize that these definitions are up for interpretation, but I like to use words that are relatable. We've got three minds. We've got the conscious, and we've got the subconscious, and like you were saying, in the middle, we've got the ego. Now, the ego is way stronger than the conscious mind, but nothing is anything to the subconscious. I mean, that's the power there. But the ego, as I define it, is that part of your mind that's only responsible for one thing in this world, and that's keeping you alive. And that's really important because right now, everyone listening out there, whatever your money problems are, whatever your relationship problems are, whatever your career problems are, and even whatever your health problems are, the only thing your short-sighted ego knows is that you are alive in this moment. So it loves you. It's in your corner, but in a misguided way, it is trying to keep you stuck where you are because the calculations have concluded that right now you're alive and it does not want to risk the status quo. Because someone out there might want to be rich and famous, for example, but for all your ego knows is when you are famous, you're going to get a bunch of stalkers, and that's a threat to your survival. For all the ego knows is when you get that money, distant family is going to come out of the woodwork and try to sue you for it, and that's going to be a threat to your survival. So the ego would rather not risk that. The ego loves you, but it's not interested in your comfort. It's not interested in your fulfillment. It's not interested in your satisfaction. It's not interested in your ease, your joy, your happiness, just your survival. That's all it cares about. So with that in mind, understanding that your ego knows your weaknesses, it knows how to use fear and uncertainty and doubt. It knows how to talk you out of doing a gratitude method every single day, or working out every single day, or doing whatever it is that you know is healthy that you want to do that you can't do. Meaning the only thing that we can do, since we're not consciously not strong enough to take on the ego, we have to bypass it and reach the subconscious mind instead. And that's where, like, at least from, I have the luxury, because I'm not teaching about working out, I have the luxury saying, well, law of attraction, this works with that. These gratitude methods or scripting or visualization, they bypass the ego and they hit the subconscious mind, and then that takes care of everything else. And again, the whole key is to make these things enjoyable enough that you look forward to, because your ego can very easily talk you out of something that's kind of not so much fun, or feels like an obligation, or feels like a commitment, or whatever. But it's going to have a lot more difficulty talking you out of something that's fast and easy, that's enjoyable. That's why, like, again, to keep on my theme of long-winded answers, something I bring up in the beginning of the book is like, you walk up to somebody and they're in the gym and they're struggling, and you say, listen, I've got magic ice cream here. It's got all the positive qualities of ice cream and none of the negative. And all you need is one spoonful a day, and you're going to have the body of your dreams. No one's going to say no to that. One, let's assume you like ice cream. If not, we'll say cookies or pizza or whatever. But one, it's just a spoonful. It's very small, 5 minutes a day. And two, you love the flavor, you enjoy it. Meaning the whole key of any law of attraction method worth its salt is something that's fun, that's easy, that's convenient, and that's fast, and that you can do every single day. That's the whole key. That's how you bypass the ego. And again, please love your ego. It loves you. This is a misguided thing that it's doing to you. It doesn't want to hurt you. It just so cares about your survival, and is so scared of the uncertain, and so scared of things that it doesn't know, that it's going to do whatever it can to keep you stuck in place until your life improves enough. And it's like, okay, now I'm going to protect this new financial set point, or this new love set point, or this new career set point. That's why they'll get up to 6 figures and they'll get laid off. But within a year, they'll have through another job that high salary again, because that's their new thermometer. That's their new temperature financially. Like, if you've achieved something and your ego knows it's possible, there's a way to that much easier. And if you haven't, do these methods, bypass the ego, go to the subconscious mind, and then you'll demonstrate it for the ego, and then it will fight to protect that new spot for you.
The ego has been a very difficult thing, especially in recovery, because, like you said, it just seems to want to have you survive and keep you safe. It
Yes.
doesn't necessarily want you to move anywhere. So, being in
Yes.
a stationary position, in a sedentary position, for most of us, it's the path to least resistance, which means that anything that we're going to do other than that is immediately going to set up red flags to the ego. Oh my God, don't do this. It's new. Oh my God, don't do this. It's different. Oh my God, you can't wish for anything else. You need to be in this safe little bubble, in this safe little box, which is also how I approach my clients, because in order for them to make any kind of move that will go from the conscious mind to the subconscious mind, or to turn into a good way of looking at things, or to become a habit in the subconscious mind, like you said, in some ways we have to bypass the ego. And in some ways that means tricking the ego into thinking, man, this is great, or this is
Mhm.
fast, or this is quick, before the ego catches up and says, oh my God, don't do it. We've already
Yes.
done it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
We've already done it. And that's exactly what you do in your book, about taking the time to do it. And that's why I love this book so much, because there are so many different ways to do it. Not only to hear it, but to read it, but then also follow along in your course called The Gravity of the Cosmos. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, well, thanks for asking. So, I mean, the way I view the book, it's kind of like my best stab at the perfect law of attraction workout routine. Meaning anyone can take it home and they can read the workouts and they can do the quote unquote workouts. Gravity of the Cosmos is basically with the understanding that, again, if in case we're talking ourselves out of it, what if we had a personal trainer walking us via video through those workout routines? So basically, Gravity of the Cosmos is a 90-day program where every single day I choose one method for you to go through, and I either walk you through it or I give you a lesson and kind of put you into it. But the whole goal is that people will have 3 consecutive months of that momentum of doing the methods. And it's really weird. No one knows about the course unless they buy the book. I never try to sell or offer the course to anyone who hasn't read the book, because I only want to give it to people that resonate with the book and are on board and are like, okay, I'm down with this. So in other words, I don't want someone to buy the course that they don't even know what this is about and they don't understand what they're doing or why they're doing it. So I might not be the best businessman in the world about it, but like you can't even access it or learn about it unless you get like the free bonuses from the book. But yeah, the goal is just so that if anybody does need it, even though they don't, but in case they want it, they've got 3 months of momentum of me guiding them through these processes, just as an extra little nudge.
And for me, it's been, like you said, it's like you're my personal trainer. And that's a wonderful thing. You know, you buy that brand new exercise bike and you put it in your house and you're really gung ho to try it and you get on it. But you really sometimes need a coach, like I feel you are, to say, okay, you can do it. Keep going. It's not as hard as you think. And I'm going to be here to help you pedal and push along. So I highly recommend it. There's no question. I highly
Thank you.
recommend The Gravity of the Cosmos, and also to buy the book, to hear it on Audible, because the way Andrew talks, you cannot help but be enthralled and be motivated by your words. So I am thrilled.
I really
Is
appreciate that.
is there anything that you'd like to leave us with today when it comes to the law of attraction? What else do you want our listeners to know?
Two things come to mind. One thing, just as you were speaking about, all the dynamics of this, and really much respect to you for the work that you do for people in recovery. And what I've noticed in the context of what we've spoken about is that a not the problem, but a problem here is that, depression, frustration, fear, uncertainty, doubt, if these are experienced often enough, they become familiar. And that's the real danger, because that's where the ego comes in, where even though it's not enjoyable, even though it could be a horrible thing, since it's familiar, it's safe to the ego and it'll keep you in there. And it's important to recognize that there's a way out without your ego freaking out. There's a way out of simply saying, okay, you know what? Whatever's going on, I'm going to do 5 minutes a day of this gratitude thing. And we'll see how it happens. And I mean, I know how it's going to work out. What's going to unfold is it's going to get easier and easier and easier to feel good, but it's not going to be a high pressure situation. You're going to go at your own pace. It's going to be easier. But again, it's just in that recognition. The only other piece I'd want to bring in is from my book is I talk about manifestational raindrops. Just want to add that little bit of value for people. And I think anyone can relate to that idea of being outside when it's overcast. It's not raining, but it's overcast. And all of a sudden, like their skin starts to tickle because there's those small, minute droplets of water kind of like hitting their skin. Then 30 seconds later, they look at their clothes and like they could see the droplets of water on their clothes. Then they can hear it hitting the ground. Then it like starts getting more and more and more. And before you know it, there's a torrential downpour. And the lesson in that is that the second you even get that little flicker on your skin, that subtle little hint or tickle, the storm was inevitable. And this goes for every good thing in your life. When you find a penny in the street, it isn't just a penny. It isn't just 1 cent. It's an indicator from the universe that you are worthy of money and that you've got and abundance and that it's on the way. And that the only thing that you have to do is just celebrate the recognition of that to invite more in for it. And again, we're powerful. We could hold up an umbrella of resistance, so to speak. But that's not stopping the storm. The storm is inevitable. The storm of abundance, the storm of what you want. You can keep your awareness away from it by holding up that umbrella of resistance and doubt and uncertainty and fear. But if you just let that umbrella down, you'll realize that all those little subtle hints, all those little good things were manifestational raindrops that were indicators of a storm. And, the example of someone who wants to meet the love of your life, getting a match on a dating app is a raindrop. Getting someone messaging you is a raindrop. That first kiss is a raindrop. Holding hands, that first joke that really lands, when you realize that your values are aligned, the first time you're cuddling on a couch, these are raindrops getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But the storm was inevitable from that very moment. Even if that match wasn't the actual person that you ended up with, that was your raindrop telling you, this is happening whether you like it or not. And it's up to you if you want to hold it away. Same with your recovery, same with everything in your life that you want to improve. Every time you see something good, when you see it as a manifestational raindrop, it will add to your enthusiasm. And through that addition of your enthusiasm, it will invite things more in a way more comfortable, efficient, speedy, fun way. So just take that message with you, take that idea with you. And, I just taught you the time lapse method. Give it a try, have fun with it, enjoy it. You deserve any bit of enjoyment you can have, because as long as you are not trying to intentionally hurt somebody else, there's nothing that you want that's off limits. There's nothing that you want that's wrong. So please be justified in whatever you want, knowing that you deserve it, knowing that you've earned it, knowing that you're worthy of it.
The last law of attraction book you'll ever need to read. Andrew Kap, I am delighted to have you on my show. Thank you so much.
Ellen, thanks you so much for having me. You can see I'm a chatterbox, but I really appreciate being on the show, and I really appreciate reaching out to your audience.
Thanks so much for watching. If you liked that video, then please hit the subscribe button down below for more Pushy Broad from the Bronx goodness.